Hello and welcome to Trackops. I am your host today. I am Chuck Cox, and today I'm going to be walking you through how to onboard a new employee into the system. So I've got a new investigator, a new staff member, and I need to add him to my system. And so from my dashboard, my first step is going to be clicking my staff tab. And to add a new employee, I'll click New Employee. I can also add a new vendor if I needed, but this investigator is going to be an internal staff member, so I'm going to add him as an employee. So we'll click that, and this will bring me to my new employee screen. And it's going to ask you for some identifying information, the name, the title, the user role. If the individual has a manager that's going to be managing him, you can add that as well as the location. So if he's not at the main office, he's at a different branch, you can designate that. So we'll go ahead and fill this first section in. And when I get to my user role, I want to select the appropriate user role that's going to correspond to this individual's title in the system. So he's a junior investigator, and I want him to be an investigator user role as well, because that's going to be his permissions in the system, and we've already got that configured, so we can onboard him as that. If you have any additional questions about user roles in the system, I'll drop a quick link here to our support article from our website that'll give you more details about him. His manager, we can go ahead and add ourselves as the manager, or we can add someone else as a manager, but basically this designation can be used later when filtering and searching. I can choose a location. So let's say that maybe he's not at the main office, he's at a different branch. We can select that here. And then we come to our access level. So the access level is going to determine what he can and can't see in the system. So limited access users, they can only see cases that they're directly assigned to. Full access users can see all cases in the system. Since he's an investigator, a lower level employee, we're going to give him limited access. It then asks me to send the login invitation. This is important because it sends an email with instructions for this individual to set up their own unique username and password, so we'll leave that checked. We can add a birthday. We can add a particular language. We can also add an account code, so it'd be like sort of an internal employee number for this particular staff member. It'd be a searchable number. We can also add some tags, so if we wanted to group this particular investigator with other investigators in the system, we can do that as well. Moving along, it asks for the email and the address and the phone number. These are very important pieces of information that we want to capture on this individual, and there are a few different reasons why. The email is for obvious reasons. So right off the bat, when we send that invitation notification where the investigator can then create his username and password, we're going to send that to this email that we put in here. This also has implications for when he receives other notifications in the system. It'll go to this email, so it's very important to include the email. In fact, it's required. Also the address. So the address is most of the time going to be the individual's home address where they're going to potentially deploy to go and work an event on a case. And we're on our case map, and we want to view investigators or staff members that are in the area that we want to then assign to the event that we're currently scheduling. If we have the staff member's address in there, it'll populate on the case map for us. And the system will actually give you a distance, both in miles and in time, of the investigator from other items on the map, such as a subject's address. Phone number is important because if the individual doesn't always want to receive email notifications, such as if they're assigned to a new case, we can actually have those notifications send to the mobile phone of the investigator. And so if we put their mobile phone in there, then they can receive a text message notification, such as if they get assigned to a case or an event. So we'll add that information in there now. Moving on to our notes section. So we can add some notes here. We can add general notes about the staff member. We can add some admin notes, which would be restricted from some other users' views. And then, of course, we want to add an email signature. So when this investigator sends an update from the system, it'll take his email signature and populate it within that variable in the email template. So it's nice to have. Our last section is the work preferences. So this is important also because of our recommendation engine. So with preferred services, if we select some preferred services for the staff member, it will count towards their recommendation rating when we go to assign our staff people to events. So if we're looking to assign an event to a staff member and that event is a background check, and I've selected background check on my staff member's preferred services, that'll give him a boost in his recommendation rating because his specialties as an investigator revolve around background checks, and so I can match him with the event. That goes for other case services as well, so we can add those. Very similar to the preferred services are the preferred regions. So if I'm scheduling an event for a case that's occurring in the Colorado case region, and I've selected Colorado as a preferred region for the staff member, that will give him another boost in his recommendation rating when we're looking to assign staff people to that event. If you have any additional questions about case services or case regions in the system, go ahead and drop a couple more links to some support articles from our website. That'll give you some more detail about them. One last item in this work preferences block is the track last location. So if we enable this, the system will actually capture and store the geo coordinates of this investigator while they're using their mobile app. And if you have questions about the mobile app as well, I'll drop yet another link to an article from our support site about how to use the mobile app. Our last section is a photo, so I can actually upload a picture of the investigator if I want. And then once I'm done here, I click Save Profile. And now my staff member has been created and added to the system, and you can see that he's actually been invited, noted here. And since he's been invited, he will receive an email notification that will have a link that he can click and then create his unique username and password. Once he creates that username and password, he can then log into the system and he's good to go. If you have any other questions for us about adding staff members, or if any other questions in general about the system, you can always drop us a quick email at support@trackops.com and we'll get to your question as quickly as we can. Thanks again for using Trackops.